There are quite a few different approaches that you can take to get Python installed on your computer and to start writing code and to start working with third-party packages like the ones we mentioned in the previous video. These are things like NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, scikit-learn, TensorFlow, PyTorch. It's our goal to learn to use all of those tools and more. The problem is that the process you have to follow in order to get Python and this other companion software set up and running on your own computer is not very beginner-friendly, like at all. I'm not going to get into all of what goes into this process, but just know that the steps for getting everything installed generally vary based on the operating system that you're using, and usually involves running a variety of command line commands to install different tools, which can be scary if you're not comfortable with the command line. The biggest pitfall with the traditional approach is that when you're setting up and installing everything, if you happen to follow a poorly made or just out-of-date tutorial, or maybe if you even just accidentally screw something up during this process, it can be a giant pain in the butt to figure out what has gone wrong and to undo the damage. I have spent hours and hours with new learners fixing and occasionally even failing to fix their Python setup. A handful of times, the learner has decided that the best course of action will be to back up all of their important files to an external hard drive, reformat their machine, and completely start over from scratch, rather than continue trying to debug their tools. It can be that tough sometimes. I've seen some beginners get so frustrated during this process that they have given up on their pursuit of learning Python and data science altogether. I don't want that to happen to you. So, what if I could just hand you a computer that already has everything a budding data scientist might need pre-installed on it so that you could start writing Python by the end of this video? I kind of can with a tool called Google Collaboratory. Google Collaboratory, also called Colab for short, allows you to write Python in a specific kind of document called a notebook. Notebooks are the most popular tool for writing data science code. The industry standard notebook editor is called Jupyter, and it's very similar to Google Colab. But typically working with Jupyter notebooks requires all of the setup that I've alluded to previously. Colab is what we call a cloud-based notebook editor because it doesn't run on our local computers. Instead, we access the notebook document through the web browser, and the web browser turns around and communicates with a computer at a Google data center somewhere in the world to run and process our code. That's why with Google Colab, we get to skip all of the traditional setup because Google has already installed everything we need on their machines in advance, and we just talk to the Google computer through the notebook interface. I've been encouraging my students to start with Google Colab for the past 5 years or so, and during that time, its popularity has been surging among industry professionals. It's free to get started with, and it's a good tool, one that's becoming more and more popular in industry. Google Colab works a lot like any other Google Drive document. You may have never noticed, but it's been hiding in your Google Drive this entire time. You'll need a Google account in order to get started with Google Colab. Let's try opening a new Colab notebook together. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can go to drive.google.com, and then after clicking on the New button in the top left corner, click on More at the bottom of the drop-down menu, and then you'll see the Google Collaboratory option. Go ahead and click on it to open a new notebook. Another way that you can open a notebook, by the way, is going to the URL colab.research.google.com, a little bit longer URL, and then log into your Google account if you haven't already, and then simply click on the button New Notebook. I have this URL bookmarked so that I can easily open up new notebooks whenever I need them. Now, let's write and run some Python. This is a code cell. We can write our code in there and then run it when we're ready. Go ahead and click on the code cell and type in it 2 + 2, something simple. And then click on the play button on the left-hand side to run the code. The first time you do this, it might take a few seconds as the Google computer that's running in the background boots up. When the cell has finished running, you should see the number 4 displayed in the output section of the code cell. Go ahead and make another code cell below the first one by hovering your cursor just under the already existing code cell until the Add a Code Cell button shows up. Or you can use the Add a Code Cell button found on the left side below the main menu. It's in 2 places. Once you have a second code cell created, write print, then an opening parentheses, then an opening quotation mark, then hello world, and then a closing quotation mark and closing parenthesis. And again, run this second code cell by clicking on the play button. You've done it. You're running Python code, and this notebook's ready for almost anything you could throw at it. In the next video, we'll explain more of Google Colab's features to help you get started using this tool productively.